Alright guys, so this is one I was going to post next week, but I've had a couple people, 2 of you guys have asked if I could post it now so that you guys can work on it, which is perfectly okay. This is one that I wasn't sure if you guys covered a little bit last year or not, but we're going to go over it. It will help you. We're going to go over a couple of them. Some of them are harder than others. We're going to start with a really easy one. We're going to do a couple others that are a little bit more challenging so you guys can kind of see how to solve these problems. These are pretty tricky problems. They're all about area and how you combine them. So you cannot actually find the area of this shape. Composite means put together. So the way you have to look at these problems is what shapes make up each other. So I look at number 1. I can see that this really is just 2 rectangles. Okay? And all I'm going to do is find the area of both rectangles and then add those 2 areas together, which will give me the whole area of the shape provided. You have to break them up. Sometimes you're going to break it up into 3 different shapes. Sometimes when you get to really complex ones, you might be breaking it up into 10 different shapes and adding them all together. You can find the area of anything by using composite figures. So the one thing you have to do in this is understand what the dimensions are. So if you think about last year, I'm pretty sure when you guys did like multiplication, you did what are called area models. This is pretty much an area model is how we're doing it. So your first step is you're trying to find what is the area of this big shape. We know the area of a rectangle is length times width. Okay, so we can see this length would be 10, and the width is 7. It is not 8 because it does not go all the way up. It is only 7. So 10 times 7 will give me the area of that shape. Okay, that's a pretty easy one then. Now this is where it gets a little bit trickier, is when you're trying to find the area of this little shape, we know that it's still length times width. But now we only know that our length is 2. We don't see our width. It is not 8. Okay, this whole length is 8. We have to find what is this little piece. Okay, and you're going to do that by using other numbers. So we know that if to get to here is 7, 7 plus what is 8? And hopefully you're saying that, okay, if that's 7, that would be 1. So if that width is 1, it would be 2 times 1. Now this is an easy one. They're going to get harder. How you would do this one is you would then find areas of both sections. So 10 times 7, you would get 70. And 2 times 1, you would get 2. To find the entire area of the shape, you're going to add 70 plus 2, and you will get 72, and you would label it inches square. Okay, so you're taking 2 different shapes, putting them together. Alright, so if you look at number 2, it's very similar. So I'm going to have you guys do that one on your own. You can kind of see that it's telling you what these are. This is a pretty simple one, actually. It's telling you this length, this width. It's telling you that length, that width. For number 4, you guys can do this one on your own after we do number 5 together. They're also very similar, so we're going to look at number 5 next. Alright, number 5. That is 6. Okay, number 5. This one, you see, it is not a shape that we know, but we do see, I always look for rectangles first. So if I would extend this line all the way up, I now have a rectangle and I have a triangle. Okay, so your 2 things, you have 2 different shapes. They both make shapes that we know how to find the area of, so you're typically going to look for triangles, squares, rectangles. Those are the easiest. Sometimes you'll do parallelograms, trapezoids, all those. That takes a little bit more time, so you can usually break those up into rectangles and triangles. So we need to find the area of this rectangle and the area of this little triangle. To do that, you have to first find what are your dimensions. We know that this shape right here, to find the area, you take your length and you multiply it by your width. Okay? The length is where you got to think, okay, I'm trying to find the entire length here. Would it be 22 or would it be 28? The entire length, you're going to see, would be the entire 28. So it would be 28. And you're going to multiply it by your width of how high does this rectangle go, which is on the side, which is 12. Okay? Now, before you solve, I typically go and find the measurements of everything so that after it's just, okay, solve and add. You can go ahead and find the whole thing if you would like. We need to find this little triangle. Okay, we know the formula for a triangle is 1/2 times the base times the height. Okay. Now we have one of our dimensions, we have a 4. We could say that is the height. So we have 1/2 times some base times your height of 4. The base of this triangle is this length that we drew in. Now, it doesn't say what that is, but we can easily find it. Okay? We know that the entire length is 28. We are trying to find that little length there. We know that before you get to the length, it's 22. So you're trying to find what plus 22 gets you to 28. And hopefully when you count in your head, you can also subtract it by doing 22, or 28 minus 22, and you would get 6. Always check it. 6 plus 22, it does give you 28 because the sides have to be the same length. That is how you find the missing values. If that's 6, you'd plug 6 in right here. And now all you're going to do is multiply them together, and then you would add them up. So, when you do multiply them together, you do 28 times 12. I just used a calculator real quick, and I got 336. And then my other one, you would do 6 times 4, you would get 24, and you multiply that by 1/2, and you would get 12. Then to find your final answer, you do 336 plus 12, and when you add that together, you get 348 inches square. Okay, so it does take a little bit more work, but you're breaking it up and you're finding different values. The hardest part is finding whatever value is missing. Okay, we're going to look at number 6 because 6 is a little bit trickier than 5, but it's just breaking it up into one extra shape is the only difference here. So let's look at number 6, and then you guys will be able to do 5 on your own, hopefully. Now 6, this is some crazy shape here. Now the easiest thing to do is I usually take, okay, where can I take a shape? There's different ways to break these up. No matter how you break it up, you're still going to get the right answer. So what I would typically do is I would say, okay, here's one. If you wanted to extend that down, you could instead of go across, but I would say, okay, get rid of that one. It's gone. And now I can also see that if I drop a line here, now it's 2 rectangles and a triangle. You're doing the exact same thing we have been doing, but now we have to go slowly and find out where does each part go. So I'm going to call this shape 1. I'll put it over to the side. For 1, it is a rectangle. You do length times your width. Luckily on this one, it tells you your length is 22 times your width, which is 20. So that one's pretty simple. For number 2, okay, for number 2, when you multiply it, you are going to do, it's a rectangle, so you're going to do a length times a width. Now this one's a little bit more challenging. You don't know your exact value. So let's start with finding our width. We know the whole shape is 40. You know, this little piece is 20, so you're really thinking, okay, if this is 20, what is this? 20 plus what is 40? Or 40 minus 20, and you would get, this little piece is 20. Bear with. Now I need to find my length, okay? This is where it's not 50. 50 is this entire thing, but I can easily find it because I know that this little piece is 18, and this little piece is 22. So this little piece would be 18 plus 22. And when you add 18 and you add 22 together, you would get 40. Okay? And actually solving that's going to help you get the triangle as well. Alright, and then let's look at number little 3 over here. For shape number 3, it is a triangle, so it's 1/2 times the base times the height. Alright, so we know that this height is the same as this, which was 20. So that'll be our height, so 1/2 times some base times some height, which is 20. And I need to find this little piece. We know the whole thing is 50, but we know this piece is 40. So if you subtract them, 50 minus 40, you would get 10. So the hardest part is kind of figuring out where the things go and where they'll equal. That's okay if it's a hot challenge right now. It'll get a little easier as you guys do more practice with it. From talking with a couple of you, I'm assuming you guys didn't get to this last year, so that's my fault. I didn't go over this before. But we'll cover it. I'm going to post another one of these probably in your final packet so we can practice even more. So when you do it, you're going to do 22 times 20. You would get 440. You would do 40 times 20, and you would get 800. Yep. And then you would do 10 times 20 times a half, and you would get 100. Now all you're going to do is add them all up. So you're going to add 800 plus 440 plus 100. And when you add all those up, you would get 1,340. And that would be your answer here. But I forgot to label. Oh man, inches square. Alright, I'm going to have you guys try 2, 3, and 4. We're going to kind of look at 3 though real quick because that is the most challenging one. The other ones, I want you guys to find the dimensions on your own. We're going to look at number 3. Okay, on number 3, you need to find dimensions. I would say that maybe you're going to break it up by here's one and here's another. That would work. Okay, if you're looking at this shape, this would be 10. This little side is the same as this. Sorry, you can't see that. So if this is 30, so this is 30. Okay, now if I look over, this whole thing's 40. If that's 30, this little piece is just 10, because 30 plus 10 is 40. If I look over here, this would be 30, that would be 70, that one's easy. Now I need to find this one right here. Okay. The main thing is, the whole thing is 50. This piece is 30, and that middle piece is the opposite of that. So 30 plus what is 50? And you would 20. So on this one, you'd multiply those, and you'd multiply those, and then you would add them all up. Okay? Take some time, go through this. If you have more questions, please let me know. If you haven't seen, we're not going to have a formal Zoom meeting. We're going to do more just question answers. I'm going to post different things online just because in the Zoom meetings I feel like we're not getting as much out of it as we could if I did it in other ways. If you find it not working, let me know. I would encourage you to come Friday to Zoom if you have extra questions. If that time doesn't work, send me an email and I can create another time for Zoom. But I was just kind of testing it out with one time. We can add more if we need to. More of just question answer based for those of you that have them or want the extra help. Otherwise, I'm just going to be posting everything online, and I've now put it where I can see who's watching each video, who's doing the work, all of that kind of stuff that I am now able to see on my end. So that is how you'll get credit. So hopefully that makes sense to you. If you have other questions, let me know.